Hi students, my name is Nikhil Kumar and you are watching this video on Angrezi Panthi YouTube channel. And today, guess what I've got for you? It's an editorial analysis. Yes, you've heard it right. Analysis of an editorial from the Hindu newspaper. In fact, it's quite an interesting piece, so I thought I must do a video on it. And also, many students tend to ask me for tips on how to go through an editorial, then how to understand it, how to analyze it, and specifically what to look for in an editorial, and then eventually how to become a better reader. So I will spend some time on these points too in today's video. Alright students, I hope I've set the agenda for today pretty well. And in that case, let's get started. Here is the editorial in front of you, and it was published on 16th September in the Hindu newspaper. You can see I have given a few questions along with the editorial. This I've done to give you a feel of competitive and entrance exams. Also, I have made a few slight changes to the editorial. Of course, you will have to correct these changes, that's why. If you want to download the entire question set that I've used in this video, then you can find the link for it in the description box. Now, what I've done is, I have divided the editorial into different parts. Each part offers you a question. For example, you can see right now part 1 underlined. Against this underlined part 1, you have question 1. Based on the information given in the part 1, which is underlined, and the context given in the editorial, you will have to answer question 1. Sounds easy? So let's begin. Follow these steps, students. Pause the video for 2 to 5 minutes. Go through paragraph 1 and paragraph 2 of the editorial, which you can see on your screen right now. Focus on part 1, which is underlined. As per your understanding of the passage read so far, answer question 1. Then unpause the video to listen to the complete solution to this question. Alright students, now pause the video for 2 to 5 minutes. Be quick, your time starts now. Now that you have unpaused the video, I'm assuming that you have already answered question 1. So let's start the discussion and explanation of the first question. The editorial says, given the embarrassment and adverse publicity suffered by the Supreme Court, who has suffered the embarrassment and adverse publicity? The Supreme Court. But why? Let's find out. The author says, because of its verdict holding Advocate Prashant Bhushan guilty of contempt for a couple of tweets. Okay, so the Supreme Court has held Advocate Bhushan guilty of contempt. Why? Just for a couple of tweets. Obviously, posting just a couple of tweets doesn't sound such a big crime that the top court hold the poster of the tweets guilty of contempt. The judgment does sound harsh for posting only a couple of tweets. Such a judgment can land the court in an embarrassing situation. And that is exactly what has happened. Now here comes the underlined part, and question 1 of course is based on this part. It says one would have thought the apex court would come hard on any such future incidents. Now we have to keep this underlined part and the passage context in view while answering the question. The first question here is asking that consider how or whether the underlined part of the passage might be revised to improve the expression of idea. The question asks whether to change the underlined part or not. If the idea is expressed well and no change is required whatsoever, then we can choose option A, as it is the same as the underlined part. Or if we think that one of the remaining 3 options expresses the idea better than the underlined part, then we can choose that option. Alright then, before we answer the question, let's understand the situation here first. What we have is that Supreme Court suffered embarrassment. Why? Because it held Bhushan guilty of contempt. Why? For only a couple of tweets. Alright. All the 4 options start with either one would have thought or one would expect. So we have to figure out what can be expected if a court suffers embarrassment because of its judgment. Logically, the next step should be of repairing this damage of embarrassment, or at least avoid pronouncing such judgments in the future. Now that we have the context clear, let's try to eliminate options based on it. Our very first option, A alpha, says one would have thought the apex court would come hard on any such future incidents. No, I don't think so. As per our understanding, you would not want to do something that will bring more embarrassment. Coming hard on such future incidents would mean taking even stronger actions against posting a couple of tweets. This will make the court suffer even more embarrassment. Then next we have the option B Bravo, which says one would expect that Bhushan be awarded heavy penalty so that an example can be set for once and for all. No, this option is very close to A alpha. The court is already suffering embarrassment for its judgment. Now if it awards heavy penalty also, then this will only aggravate or make the situation worse. This heavy penalty would bring in more embarrassment and adverse publicity. This again can't be the right answer. C. Charlie says, one would have thought the Supreme Court would post an apology on Twitter to repair all this damage. Alright, this option looks at repairing the damage, which is as per our line of thought, which is fine. But it is posting apology on Twitter. And to whom? Apology to Bhushan or to the public or to the media? Shouldn't it also be going back on the judgment of holding Bhushan guilty of contempt? Nothing is mentioned about that. So this option is definitely better than the earlier two, but not an ideal one. Anyway, let's check the last option, which is D delta. This option says one would have thought the superior judiciary would avoid wading into needless controversies by invoking its contempt jurisdiction. Now this looks like the best option. Obviously, if the court has suffered embarrassment, then it should avoid repeat of similar incidents. And this option says exactly that. But before we mark this option, let's also go through the line following the underlined part. However, Justice S.M. Subramaniam of the Madras High Court seems to believe that anyone criticizing judges should be dealt with by the threat of contempt. The next line starts with however, which means we should encounter contrast now. Keeping in view the contrast, D delta, the last option, fits in perfectly here. In the beginning, the passage says that court has suffered embarrassment because of the judgment of contempt of court against posting a couple of tweets. D delta says courts should avoid such situation. Next line says, however, Justice Subramaniam seems to believe that such situations should be dealt with threat of contempt. Perfect contrast. And to maintain this contrast, we will have to keep the last option in the underlined part. Hence, D delta is the right choice. Well, we have come across the term contempt of court quite a few times in the editorial. So let's understand what it really means. It is any action that brings a court into disrepute. For instance, the Supreme Court felt Bhushan's tweets attempted to scandalize the Supreme Court. One can also be in contempt of court when one deliberately refuses to comply with a court's order. The punishment prescribed for contempt of court is up to 6 months in jail or a fine of rupees 2000 or both. Now, there is a conflict between freedom of speech and contempt of court. On one hand, many lawmakers say contempt of court is a necessary power of the judiciary. Others say this law can be abused and could restrict freedom of speech, which is a fundamental right. The issue of concern is that judges simultaneously act as the prosecutor and victim both. Not to mention, thousands of former judges, journalists, retired bureaucrats, and lawyers have signed a statement being critical of the Supreme Court's decision to convict Bhushan. They called it a disproportionate response and said that this could very much limit the expression of a valid and justified criticism of the judiciary. In fact, many rights groups and political leaders have called for reforms to contempt laws. Okay, so that was an overview on contempt of court. Now let's carry on with the analysis of this editorial. Now let's go on to the second question. Once again, I will ask you to pause the video for a couple of minutes. This time go through both the paragraphs which you can see on your screen. Then attempt question number 2 and question number 3 both. Once you are through with these two questions, start the video again for the detailed solution and explanation. Let us have a better look at the second and the third part of this editorial. However, Justice S.M. Subramaniam of the Madras High Court seems to believe that anyone criticizing judges should be dealt with by the threat of contempt. Okay, so far we know that although Supreme Court has been in an embarrassing situation because of holding Bhushan guilty of contempt, Justice Subramaniam, on the other hand, still believes that anyone who criticizes judges should be dealt with by the threat of contempt. I think the meat of the issue is clear in the first few lines of this editorial. The author says that if someone criticizes the judge, then the judge should not exercise his power of contempt of court as threat against him. This leads to embarrassment and public adversity for the judge of the court. The idea is that the court should not use contempt of court as an instrument of threat to suppress disagreement. After all, that person is just expressing his disagreement with the judge. Why should the judge threaten him with contempt now? And suppose if that person is logically and factually expressing his disagreement, then what is wrong with it? Alright, let's come to the underlined part now. In an ill-advised move, he is written to the Chief Justice, seeking permission to initiate contempt proceedings against prominent Tamil actor Surya for an innocuous comment on recent judicial orders declining to interfere with the conduct of the NEET for medical courses. So, what do we have here? The court has declined to interfere with the conduct of NEET, and actor Surya has made an innocuous comment which we can see in the next paragraph. Innocuous means harmless. So the author says that for this harmless comment, Justice Subramaniam seeks contempt proceedings against this actor. The underlined part is asking that how would you describe this move of Justice Subramaniam? First option says ill-advised. Second one says cautiously optimistic. Third one says frantic. And the last one, the fourth one, says sagacious. From the tone and context of the editorial, we know that the author doesn't approve of such contempt proceedings against people criticizing judges. Besides, they also attract public adversity and embarrassment. Furthermore, the comment is innocuous or harmless, so why bother so much? So the best option would be ill-advised, which means not sensible. The question of pessimistic or optimistic really does not arise, so we can eliminate cautiously optimistic. Frantic means uncontrolled excitement or emotion such as agitation or fear. The context doesn't support this option much, so we'll reject this too. Sagacious then means wise and insightful, but the author's tone and arguments lead to the fact that such contempt proceedings bring embarrassment to the court. Hence, one doesn't see anything wise here. So the right answer is of course A alpha, which is ill-advised. The third question is asking for the meaning of innocuous. Here vocabulary is being tested. We've already discussed this. This word's meaning is harmless. Therefore, A alpha is the right option. Next option is banal, which means boring or you can say unoriginal. Something which has been used over and again. C. Charlie says insipid, which means something that lacks flavor or interest or impact. You can say hospital food can be called as insipid, which lacks flavor and taste. Next is cruel, but that is not even close to innocuous or harmless. And so is maligning also incorrect. A maligning comment would defame or spoil someone's reputation. Now it's time to move on to the next question. Quickly pause and go through the next two paragraphs shown on the screen and also attack questions 4 and 5. Then unpause the video for the solution. So now please pause the video and work on these questions. Now let's have a look at the fourth and the fifth part of the editorial. The actor responding with anguish to recent suicides by MBBS aspirants out of fear of failure had remarked that a court that dispenses justice through video conferencing out of fear of the coronavirus is ordering students to write an exam without fear. So, what has happened is that the court itself fears coronavirus, and because of this fear, the court has gone after the option of video conferencing. Till here, it is fine. But when the same court orders the students to write the exam without the fear of corona, then it raises a question. If the court is ordering the students to write exam without corona's fear, then why is itself so scared? Why is the court itself so scared of corona? After all, it is said that one should practice what one preaches. So next question is asking us that in the underlined remark, which figures of speech has the actor demonstrated? The options given here are paradox, oxymoron, irony, and the fourth one is humor. So what is paradox? Paradox is a situation that contradicts itself, and because of this contradiction, one can't comprehend or understand the situation itself. So we can't understand the situation because the situation is contradicting itself. The situation can even come across as a highly absurd one. Here, let's consider an example of paradox. Let's suppose there are two statements. Statement 1 says that statement 2 is true, but statement 2 says that statement 1 is itself false. Now, can we say that statement 2 is also false then? Then what about statement 1? Which one is true? Which is false? Difficult to say, isn't that so? The situation is confusing and contradicting in nature. So, it seems absurd and hence it is a paradox. But in the remark made by the actor Surya, we don't find anything self-contradicting. So, it can't be a paradox. Next, oxymoron means two opposite meaning words juxtapositioned, which means placed beside each other. For example, deafening silence. Because silence is not supposed to make one go deaf. In fact, it is high decibel sound, or you can say noise pollution, that leads to deafness. Certainly, it's not silence. The actor's statement does not have any opposite words juxtapositioned, so we can rule this option out. Then we have irony in our next option. Yes, this situation can very much be ironical. Why? See, after all, it's a rare coincidence, as the court is practicing exactly opposite of what it is preaching. In a way, it is quite an unexpected outcome. One also finds humor in this statement. The last option does say humor, which is the fourth option, but this statement is much more than humor. And not to mention, humor is already included in irony, which is given in the third option. Therefore, C. Charlie, irony is the right answer. Next, we have the judge claims that the actor had questioned the integrity and devotion of judges, and that such a remark, if unpunished, if it goes unpunished, then it would undermine public trust in the judiciary. It is only petulant resort to contempt law. So now they are choosing the option of contempt law, and the author calls making of such a choice as petulant resort. Alright, let's read it one more time. It is only petulant resort to contempt law without necessary cause that would make the layman lose trust in courts. So the author says that making use of contempt law in this situation is not only petulant but also without any necessary cause, and this step would only make the layman lose trust in courts. So the question is, what can petulant mean? Out of the 5 choices that we have, we can say that incessant and non-stop both mean the same and can't be the right answer here. A bit of vocabulary also comes into play here. Out of unreasonable and childishly sulky, the second option is right. In the very same sentence, we have without any necessary cause. So we don't need unreasonable here, as it just repeats the same thing. The resort to contempt law is childishly sulky. This makes complete sense and is also the meaning of the word petulant. Next, the author goes on to say that no reasonable person who reads Mr. Surya's statement would construe it as contempt of court, as it does nothing more than state an obvious fact. What is the fact? The fact is, while the pandemic has resulted in virtual hearings, the court has allowed an examination involving 1.5 million students. Author's view is that Surya says that pandemic has resulted in virtual hearing, which is true. Courts have gone after the option of virtual hearings because of coronavirus. But for students, the court has a different piece of advice, that take the exam in spite of corona. That is a fact too. So the author says that the actor Surya has done nothing but stating a fact, something that has happened. That is what fact is. It is not an opinion but a mere fact. Or in other words, it is the truth. And how can he be held for contempt of court for that? Let's also understand the judge's claim and the author's view in a bit detail now. The judge's claim or argument is that if no action is taken against this remark, then public will lose trust in judiciary and hence contempt law is being used against Surya. But the author's view is that he sees contempt law as only a petulant or childish resort which will not help in keeping public trust intact in judiciary. On the contrary, public will lose trust now. Why? Thanks to this contempt law. Okay, it's time to go on to the next part, which is the sixth part of the editorial. First, pause the video. Next, go through the paragraph shown on the screen and then attempt the sixth question as well. Once the question is done, then unpause the video for the solution part. Here, the author says, as pointed out by 6 former judges of the High Court in a letter to the Chief Justice, asking him not to act on Justice Subramaniam's letter. This means that some people are favoring actor Surya too, and they are against Justice Subramaniam's request for contempt proceedings. The judge's construction of the actor's comments is off the mark. So the letter says that Subramaniam's interpretation of the comment is off the mark. Or should it be off the vision? Or should it be way out? Or should it be foolhardy? Well, as per the context, the 6 former judges in the letter are saying that Justice Subramaniam has not correctly understood the comment of the actor Surya and therefore no contempt proceedings should be initiated against the actor. Thus, the right answer is A alpha, which is off the mark. It means misunderstanding entirely or missing the point or mark completely. Not only has he misunderstood, but he has missed the intended meaning or the target by a long way. The second choice says off the vision, which doesn't mean anything here, so we can easily eliminate this option. C. Charlie says way out, which means unconventional or unusual. For example, the way out ideas, or you can say the way out methods. In fact, at times it can also mean something outrageous. For example, way out suggestion, which can mean an outrageous one. Obviously, this option doesn't fit here in the context. The last option says foolhardy, which means bold and recklessly rash or impulsive. So you can say one who is in a hurry to rush into action without considering the consequences. This choice can also be ruled out. The right answer, as we have already discussed, is the first option, that is the original choice, which is off the mark. Now let's go through the remaining paragraph 2. Besides, no one would believe that the actor had interfered with any judicial proceeding through his comment, or that it hindered the administration of justice in any way. This is self-explanatory. So the author is saying the comment never did any harm to judicial proceeding. That a judge should show unbelievable alacrity. Alacrity means great swiftness or too much eagerness. That a judge should show unbelievable alacrity in shooting off a letter to the Chief Justice, within hours of the actor's statement being aired on television, evidences or proves an alarming level of intolerance towards criticism and a monarchical understanding of how courts ought to deal with public opinion. The author here says that this entire incident of seeking contempt proceedings shows how intolerant judges of courts have become towards criticism or public opinion. In fact, he goes on to call this type of understanding monarchical, meaning where all the control is in the hand of one person. Obviously, this ideology goes totally against the concept of democracy. Now it's again time to pause the video for a couple of minutes, then read the last two parts of the editorial to answer the 7th and the 8th question. In fact, the 8th question is asking the gist of the entire editorial. Once you're done with these questions, then unpause the video for solution. Let's discuss question number 7, and of course for that we'll have to look into the last two paras of the editorial which are shown on the screen. The actor, who also runs a voluntary organization dedicated to increasing access to education for underprivileged children, has commented in the past too on matters related to education. The author says that the actor is related to the field of education in some way, and he has commented earlier too on this field. There is no reason to abridge his constitutional right to do so, especially on an issue of public importance. Author further says that by contempt proceedings against the actor, Justice Subramaniam is trying to curtail or put restrictions on his constitutional right to express his opinion on matters of public importance. And let's not forget that the actor is even related to this issue of education. For instance, Justice Subramaniam's request is also impermissible in law. Okay, here comes the 7th question, and we have to decide whether, for instance, fits here in the context, or shall we look for some other choice. For instance means for example, but this line doesn't offer any example of what was said in the previous para. Previous paragraph talks about the actor's right to express his opinion on issue of public importance, whereas this line talks about whether Subramaniam's request for contempt proceeding is permissible or not. So this in fact is a new point. Therefore and ergo mean in conclusion. These words are used when the author is all set to conclude or sum up his points. But as already discussed, in this line we have a new point. It is not a conclusion based on the previous paragraph. So it's easy to eliminate the first three choices. Last choice is further, and yes, this is the right choice, as further is used to bring an additional point in the context. D delta, further, is the right answer. The 8th question is asking for the gist of the editorial. A alpha says, in democracy, the judiciary suppresses the public opinion and in the process it sets off controversy. So it's a very generalized option. Besides, it says in democracy. Although we know that we live in democracy, yet the passage doesn't say so explicitly, and we have to find the gist of the passage. So as of now, we will just park this option, look for something more apt. The next option, B Bravo, says, by seeking contempt action for an innocuous comment, High Court judge has set off controversy. To the point. This can very much be the right answer as it captures the main point of editorial. The next option says, Subramaniam hasn't learned much, despite the embarrassment suffered because of his verdict holding Advocate Bhushan guilty of contempt for a couple of tweets. Now, it wasn't Justice Subramaniam who held Advocate Bhushan guilty of contempt for a couple of tweets. Rather, it was the Supreme Court which did so. Hence, we can call this option factually incorrect, and so C Charlie can be eliminated. None of the above won't be the right answer, as we have found the gist of the passage in option B. So B Bravo is the right answer. Also, you must have a look at the difficult words of this editorial. In fact, this is something which you must do every time you read an editorial. Identify the difficult words, mark them, make a note of them, Google them up, find their meanings and learn them. Also, you have to revise them after regular intervals as you tend to forget them otherwise. Keep tuned to my YouTube channel Angrezi Panti as I will bring the video on difficult words of this editorial real soon. Okay? Hope you liked this video and you did find it helpful as well. If yes, you did, then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel Angrezi Panti for more such videos. Moreover, feel free to share your doubts and queries in the comment section. In case you are struggling with any particular topic, then let me know. I may make a video on that topic for you. Besides, feel free to share this video with anyone who is facing difficulty with reading editorials. Additionally, you can also visit my website angrezipanti.com for more free practice material. Also, should you want, you can buy paid courses and programs on the website. In fact, you can make use of this coupon code on the screen to avail 50% discount on these courses and programs. And I'm also leaving my contact numbers and email IDs on the screen. Feel free to call or WhatsApp me for any doubts or further details. Okay students, we'll bring more such videos for you and you keep on studying, keep on practicing. Goodbye, take care.